Thanks for joining me for this enrichment with the gifted guy. This is one in a series of many videos that are going to talk about executive functioning skills and how you can learn these executive functioning skills in order to achieve the goals that you have. Each of these skills will be under a larger skill. So, for example, I'm going to talk about the idea of reflection. Reflection is when you look back on something and you see what worked and what didn't. And the reason why you reflect upon something is because you either A, want to repeat something that you did well, or B, avoid a mistake that you made from the past. Under reflection, there are several skills you might use. One of those skills is what's known as metacognition, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. Metacognition is thinking about your own thinking. When you do something, you are making choices. Sometimes you think about these choices very quickly and you make a quick choice. Sometimes you think about these longer. Now, usually, the longer you think about something and consider the possibilities, the more likely it is that you're going to make a good choice. There's no guarantee. Sometimes you can make a very quick choice and it turns out great. But the more you think about those choices, more than likely it's going to result in a better outcome. So this is going back and thinking about those choices, okay? I didn't think a lot on that particular choice. If I had thought more, would things turn out differently? These are what if scenarios. So this is really important. So that's the what. The why this is important is because if you want to change, you have to recognize where the changes have to take place. So if you look at something and you say, okay, this didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. I made choice A. What if I'd make choice B? Would that result in something different? Would change occur? Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If you do the same thing, typically you get the same result. So if you want a different result, you have to make a change. That's the why. Now, how do you do metacognition? Well, your tool for metacognition are the questions that you ask. And here are four of the more common questions that you might ask when you're thinking about the thinking. So first is, how are you doing? How did things turn out? So did they turn out the way that you wanted them to? Did you achieve your goal? Did you get what you wanted to? That's the first question. You need to also ask yourself, like, what went well? So if something turned out well, what decisions did you make to help that to happen? And can you repeat those decisions? So if you repeat those decisions, hopefully you'll get a similar outcome. So if something worked out well, you do the same thing again and it turns out well again. It's not a guarantee, but more than likely. Another question is, what didn't turn out the way you wanted it to? And then you play those what if games like, okay, this didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but what if I'd done this instead? So let me give you an example. So let's say you take a test and you don't get a good grade. A decision you made earlier the day before was, I'm going to go play soccer rather than study for my test. So as a result of that decision, you didn't get the test results that you wanted. But you can say, what if? What if I had not played soccer? What if I instead decided to study for my test? Would that have increased my chances of doing better? It probably would have increased your chances. There's no guarantee, but it definitely would have increased your chances. So that's going back and saying, I made a decision here. Didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Now, what if I made a different decision here? And that brings us to our final question of what could I do to improve for the next time? Things are not going to change unless you make a change and some decision that you made. So this is why you think about the thinking. So you're going to make several decisions over the course of something. So you go back and analyze all of those decisions. I did this. This is what happened. I did this. This is what happens. The cause and effect. If I change my cause, though, do I get a different effect? If I do this differently, will things improve upon next time? And that's where your metacognition really helps with the reflection. Because by asking these questions and thinking about the thinking, you can make better decisions the next time and hopefully result in better results.